Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks to all for being here today with us. My name is Juan, a member of Riven Company from Mondragon Team Academy, most known as NTA. Today is a great day. We have Trent Clark. Before introducing Trent, please, all the questions that you have, write them during the webinar on the chat. They will be answered at the end. Thanks again to all of you and obviously to Trent to stay with us. Now is the moment. How are you, Trent?
I'm good, Juan. I'm good. Great to join you today to talk a little bit about how we lead and this whole thing that everybody's talking about, emotional intelligence. So super excited to talk about that. Thank you for hosting today. I am on location and it is Memorial Day weekend. I am wearing my Land of the Free. It is a big holiday here. So I am in red, white, and blue. As in the United States, we pay tribute to our fallen soldiers, people that have protected our countries. And so very excited about Memorial Day weekend. It's often a time we gather for friends, but we like to remember the value of those that have served our country so valiantly and often in their peril. So for their families and everything else in support, we want to do that, and we honor them on Memorial Day. So that is a big celebration this weekend. And so exciting to have you here. Very excited to talk a little bit about emotional intelligence and how we win with great teams and how emotional intelligence can definitely affect us as bosses, right? So that's such a key component, and we want to take a look at that real quick as we go through it and talk to that. Let me share quickly my screen as I go into the PowerPoint. And so when we talk about how we win with great teams, absolutely a crucial element for us is that, is it required of bosses? Do I have it? I don't know if I have it. Is this something that I should be working on? And there's some staggering statistics going around now about the value of emotional intelligence in leaders. For everyone else who doesn't know me, I am Trent Clark. I coach the 1%. I have coached a lot of famous people. I've been an entrepreneur that started 12 companies. I coached in 3 World Series in Major League Baseball. I have one of those rings on today. Thank you. So, and then I am the founder of Leadershipity. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today too. And how I consult leaders, team development worldwide. I do that. One of the things that most people don't know about me is I played in a championship game from the time I was 15 years old until the time I was 21. Every year I played in a championship, and then I went into professional baseball coaching for World Series. And I went to the World Series 3 times, and that was in a span of about 7 years. So of 7 World Series, I was in 3 of them as a coach. And it was a great time. We were working on just trying to be the best. And so we've always done that audit of excellence in my company and my group of how do you create sustainability and winning? How do you do that really well? And when you're at the top, how do you stay there, which is very difficult. So as we talk about a little bit of what we're doing in Spain, I'm super excited to talk about our upcoming workshops that we'll be having in Spain, our award-winning Win with Great Teams. Love for you to join us. And we'll be doing that coming up. We are probably pivoting now to October for those events. So we're going to talk a little about those new dates. We had originally planned for June, but with COVID, that has changed some things on travel. And so since travel hasn't kind of come around just yet, we'll probably be backing that up. And so we're going to talk about those dates. In June 7th, in a couple of weeks, we'll be doing our first Win with Great Teams show for the Spanish community, and very excited to have one of the leaders of Spain in business join us for that show. So should be a great time, 4 o'clock local time, 10 a.m. Eastern here in the States. We'd love to have you join us. As you can see, our sponsors of Journeys, Mondragon Team Academy, the Mondragon Universities, and Oxford and their notebook group. So excited to have them aboard and joining us as sponsors. So If you'd like to sponsor Learn More, please reach out to me or Juan and learn more about how you can support these student entrepreneurs. We have workshop slots available coming up in October. We will be in Madrid, Bilbao, Barcelona on these dates, and we'll follow up with that, and you can learn more. As we dive into teams, let's talk a little bit about what great teams really look like. I love this. A team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people that trust each other. That's first and foremost. So to have that trust, emotional intelligence plays a pretty important role. When we talk about team, I like the acronym training. Are we doing that for our team? Can you be trained up in emotional intelligence? Of course. Education, get educated. Assessments, we do a lot of those. And we're going to talk about one of those assessments we do today. And then mentoring. Are we mentoring and guiding those folks along in their training, education, and assessment of what we learn? As we look into teams, the vision always involves people. It always includes people. Everybody says, oh, I want to create this, or I want to create a new environment, or I want to create a new product. That's awesome. You're going to need people to do it. And that's the one common attribute of all great teams is we need people and we need each other. How much are you putting into getting the right players? That's so important. I asked that question a lot of leaders. We were diligent about this in pro athletics, about how do we get the right players? And we always didn't need the best players. We need the right players. So important. And then the 4 IDs that are so critical to team members: coachability, accountability, responsibility, and dependability. We want those 4 IDs in all of our team members. And if they have that, we feel like we're going the right direction. When we talk about trust, how do we build that? Here's a couple big 4 ID words in trust. Building trust through confidentiality, vulnerability, authenticity, dependability. These are key things that we have to have. And part of this is going to show up in your emotional intelligence. It's going to show up in your authenticity, your dependability, definitely your vulnerability, and your ability to keep things in confidence with folks that you work with. So absolutely crucial to build trust. I'm a big fan of Coach Wooden. Coach Wooden was a famous basketball coach here in the United States. Spain has some pretty good basketball as well, so I'm excited about that. Probably better soccer and football. But when we talk about Coach Wooden, he was a famous basketball coach. He was a collegiate basketball coach that's very big here in the United States. He came up with his pyramid of success, and highly known as one of the greatest coaches of all time, but even better known as one of the greatest people and how he treated people. This is a guy with high quality emotional intelligence. And I love John Wooden's quote of success. Success is peace of mind attained only through self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable of. John Wooden. And that's such a key element when we start talking about how do we define success? We define success a lot of ways: by how much money we make, or how many employees we have and we're earning, or how many people we're impacting, or how many cars I own. There's all sorts of different things of people that they may equate with success. Some are material things, some are more intangible and intrinsic. This is one of those things as a peace of mind. This is definitely an intrinsic value to success. And we really get that understanding of a peace of mind in self-satisfaction. Because if you have peace of mind and self-satisfaction, I always consider that a high level of success. So I love his pyramid as we talk through different things of how that works. He has just done diligence and work in this, and it's just a wonderful read. If you've never seen that before, please take a look. If you'd like to have a copy of this, I'd be happy to send you one. So ping me or DM me directly, and I'd love to be able to share that with you. When we talk about emotional intelligence, these key elements are really important. When we talk about his pyramid, one of his famous players, Coach Wooden's players, Bill Walton, was the player of the year, probably well known as one of the best college basketballs and a really good pro player too. Bill's a big guy. He's 7 feet tall. He's highly regarded as one of the best players of all time. He talked about playing for Coach Wooden, and he at that time was a young person in his 70s, and he had a lot of different ideas and concepts of what should be done. But I loved his quote on the building blocks. When you talk about the 5 key building blocks of building that foundation: friendship, the building block of any team; cooperation, seeing the world through other people's eyes; empathy; loyalty, do you care? Do you care about your organization? Do you care about your team? These 2 cornerstones of what Coach Wooden claimed held up the entire pyramid. Industriousness. Are you willing to work at what you love? Are you willing to work at it? Are you willing to drive at that? Enthusiasm. Do you love what you're doing? Do you have a passion for it? Is that evident to everyone around you? In that second tier, we talk about self-control, alertness, and initiative. Discipline yourself so others won't have to. Self-control. Alertness, awareness of everything. Implement it, get the job done. Initiative, focus, determination, let's go. Initiative, take it. Intentness, drive, get after it. Up before the dawn, you are very intentional about what you want in this life, what you're going for, and you're waking up ready to do it every day. That next tier, intentness, condition, and skill. Or I'm sorry, condition, skill, team spirit. Condition, physical fitness. Your mind works better when your body is going. I also like how Coach Wooden described conditioning as mental, physical, and moral conditioning. And we need all 3 of those, all the time. Skill, the creative imagination of coming up with something new. And then team spirit. Nobody makes it to the top alone. We need others. That top 2, poise, just be yourself, and confidence, that well-founded, well-based belief that nothing or no one will ever be able to stop you. The confidence that you have an ability to do what you're doing. And then, of course, finally, that competitive greatness is the ultimate pinnacle, to be competitively great. So be at your best when your best is needed. We look at that, and I look at how many times famous athletes like Lionel Messi has been such a great player. That's the big stage is the World Cup, and he shows up and he delivers because he's at his best when his best is needed. We have a football player, a U.S. football player named Tom Brady here in the States who just won the Super Bowl. And when he's called upon, it's the big game. Tom is at his best. A famous tennis player, you see many of them, and Spain has a number of them, right? And you've got one of the best in the world from Spain. He is always at his best when his best is needed, proving how many times he's won Grand Slams. It's so impressive to see some of these fabulous players. And then, of course, the definition of success. Let's dive in a little bit to how you become that best boss. The emotional intelligence. Building an agile organization has to have emotional intelligence. If we're going to be adaptive, it's so important that we have good leadership with emotional intelligence. 97% of leaders agree that developing emotional intelligence is crucial to building agile workforce. That's absolutely crucial. And then EI is often synonymous with problem solving. People with great emotional intelligence tend to be great at problem solving. And we're looking for those people. If people are searching you out today because you are such a fabulous problem solver, my bet is that you have a high level of emotional intelligence, which is why they're calling on you. You're going to remain calm. You're going to be able to work through adversity, work through challenge, understand your emotions, all these key things. So huge part of emotional intelligence. When we talk about assessments, I love the DISC. I use Wiley's DISC features and tools, and Wiley Publishing has a great set of DISC qualifiers. This is a sample from the EQ mindsets, and there are many mindsets of emotional quotient, right? Our emotional intelligence. And so we look at those as strengths, and wherever you may fall, if you know your DISC, if you're a D or an I or a S or a C, you see some certain things. I sit at the top of this circle over here at the ID. And when I look at that, dynamic, initiating action on your ideas, influencing people, and projecting strong social presence. That's my go-to for sure as an ID. As an I fellow, I'm outgoing, establishing and maintaining relationships and expressing your emotions, unfiltered thoughts to others. I do that, maybe to a fault sometimes, and that can be dangerous. Self-assured to the left of the D's, asserting your opinions and rights, projecting confidence in your ideas and abilities, and taking charge of situations. That's a common one for me, having been in many leadership roles. As we slide around that, below that, right there at the DC, resolute, standing your ground in the face of opposition, speaking up about problems, pushing through any resistance. The C's, objective. They're separating facts from emotions and keeping the discussion focused on logic. CS's, composed. A great word to describe a CS is composed, reflecting before acting, moderating your responses even under stress, and exercising diplomacy. Receptive, S's. Steadiness is what an S is, and receptive is what they become. Staying open to others' ideas and being willing to compromise on or set aside their own needs and preferences. And then, of course, the ISs, the SIs, empathizing, reaching out with compassion, seeking to understand people's emotional needs and struggles, and being supportive. So when we look at all these different mindsets, when we test that assessment, we look at how do you lean into each one of those mindsets? How do you have an ability to understand your self-awareness of how you show up in each of those 8 categories of styles of emotional mindset, which is so important. And so this assessment, as you look through emotional intelligence, is a good one. What do the best leaders have in common? A high degree of emotional intelligence. These slides were taken directly from the Leading with Courage Academy. I was a former partner in that group. Lee Eisenstadt has done some great research on emotional intelligence. And when we look at the best leaders, what do we always go to? Like, hey, if we described our 10 best leaders in this life, we could go, wow, I love this person, that person. I love reading about this person. I've seen them in action and they are just fabulous. And what's their one commonality? This high degree of emotional intelligence that can separate them from the rest of the crowd. So critical. Some of the other things, this is a staggering statistic. Emotional intelligence is twice as important as technical skills or IQ. As technical skills or IQ. We've often, in years past, we highly valued the intelligence quotient. How high is your IQ? How brilliant are you? And that's a great measure. But IQ and technical skills come in a third to compare of what the value of emotional intelligence is in developing your teams. Bottom line is that emotionally intelligent leaders boost the bottom line. If you want productivity, if you want to get sustainability, if you want profitability, all these key iddies in your company, in your organization, and what are you going to get it from? Highly, you're going to get it from emotional intelligent leaders. And let's talk about what that looks like. What does an emotional intelligent look like? Here's the promises of learners. When you get into promises, learners help people better handle interpersonal and emotionally charged situations. That's good. So an individual will help people better handle. An organization filled will help organizations develop emotional intelligence necessary to support a thriving, agile culture. And so as an organization, that's what we want from emotional intelligence. As an individual, we want to help people handle those interpersonal, emotionally charged situations. Let's talk about those components that make up the emotional intelligence. Personal competence. So as an individual, what do I first do when it comes to emotional intelligence? Well, the first thing is, my relationship with myself. How do I become aware of my emotional intelligence, my both strengths and gifts, and my potential limitations in that? So to become self-aware, first of all, is how to tune in to your own emotions. How do I show up when things get tough? Am I in control of my emotions? Am I aware that my anger is rising or my frustration level? Am I aware of my joy and even manic eagerness or drive? Like, aware of these emotions sometimes are critical. And then a second component of self-awareness becomes self-management. your ability to regulate emotional state becomes so important, because now I've become aware of it. Now, do I have an ability to control it, not get myself into situations where I'm going to trigger that, not get myself in situations where I can't handle it and it goes beyond me, and now I'm out of control, or in an argument, in a heated debate, or going off the edge of self-management. Now let's talk about the second part of emotional intelligence, which is social competence. We now kind of talked about our personal competence. What do we know about us? Now, what's our social competence? How we relate with others, and how others in our organization relate with each other. So now we become this management of other folks and their emotional intelligence around social awareness. How to tune in my emotions with others' emotions, and how those are showing up across the board amongst all my team. And then relationship management. Once I'm aware that these frustrations are rising, or people are having challenge with their emotions, what am I going to do about it? Your ability to navigate those emotions in interactions with others. How do we get conflict that's productive conflict? Conflict's not a bad thing. Emotions aren't a bad thing. We have to manage inside that, manage those emotions. They're all good things when done well. So those are some things we have to consider as we're going through this. Now, the other side of this is, where do we show up? How do we show up individually? Let's first of all talk about what we've learned from other people first, okay? Let's talk about when we learn, what's the very best person you ever worked for, with, or around? For, with, or around. And I'm always looking, this is probably a person that you're modeling your leadership style after. This was a score sheet we developed, again, with the Leading with Courage Academy. Love this. And this has been a tool that has been such a good value add, as we just ask some key questions that we want to know. Some key questions that we want to know. When we talk about emotional intelligence, we talk about, I'm going to ask you 6 questions. First of all, I want you to get the person that you're likely involved with, and I want you to take out your Oxford notebook if you have one. If you don't, a sheet of paper will work fine. And I want you to just number 1 through 6. Statement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be your key. Your scoring key is going to be a 1. This person does this significantly less than others. 2, they do it less than others. 3, they do this about typical as others. 4, they do this more than others. And 5, they do this significantly more than others. Okay, so that is going to be your key, is those 5 things. 1, significantly less than others. 2, less than others. 3, about typical. 4, more than others. 5, significantly more than others. So with that, I want you to keep your key in mind. I'm going to stop the share, and you've got your list down. So let's talk a little bit about these questions. So number 1, as you're thinking about the best leader you've ever worked with, for, or around, number 1, how do they demonstrate awareness of their mood and emotions? How do they demonstrate awareness of their mood and emotions? Doesn't mean they don't have moods and emotions, but they demonstrate a high level of awareness. 5, significantly more than others. 4, more than others. 3, they do that about typical. 2, less than others. Or 1, they significantly do this less than others. They do not demonstrate awareness of their mood and emotions. Significantly less. 1. Number 2, makes others feel appreciated. 2, makes others feel appreciated. 3, is open and honest about mistakes. They do this. 1, significantly less than others. 3, about typical. 5, significantly more than others. 1 through 5. 4, makes ethical decisions. Makes ethical decisions. 5, manages emotions effectively in difficult situations. manages their emotions effectively in difficult situations. 6, recognizes others' hard work and achievements. Recognizes others' hard work and achievements. Now let's take and add up those numbers for everyone involved and get your final digit on that. What is your total? What is your total number in that as you see that? The average typically is around 25 for a great leader, or above that. You see leaders that really do it well, they have a 25 number or better. They do this significantly better than others. And as I share this screen again, the next question is where do you rate in that? If you've had a great leader, you're modeling after that. How long ago was this? Did you work for this person? Was this 5 years ago? Was this 20 years ago? How long ago did you work for them? And then how did he or she make, or how do they make you feel today? Or how they made you feel in the past? How did you feel working for them? The very best person you ever worked with, for, or around. How did they make you feel? So write down one word responses to that. You felt empowered. You felt strong. You felt confident. How would you rate your feeling of working for that person? How were you made to feel? You can jot down a few words there. And then lastly, rate your discretionary effort. Was it pretty easy working for them? Was it a lot of discretionary effort on your part, or was it very low? Discretionary effort means always going out of the way for someone, always having to work Saturdays when you didn't want to, working late on a project, a lot of discretionary effort outside of your normal responsibilities. Was that hard? 9, 10, or was that 1, 2 really easy, very little or easy discretionary effort? So typically what we find is we find in this group, we find a couple of words. Our best leaders score in that 25 or better. People can remember working for them 20 years ago, but they still feel the same and can call up those feelings in no time. And the discretionary effort is very low. Let's talk about some of those things that people talk about how they feel. They feel valued. They feel important. They feel capable, empowered, comfortable. They feel like a champion. They feel confident. They feel challenged. They feel like a key person, appreciated, trusted, respected, developed. They feel potential, humble, safe, or warm, and supported. And they feel purpose-driven. A great boss makes them feel many of those things. Many of those things is how a great boss makes them feel. All right, now let's flip the script a little bit and take you to the worst person you've ever worked for, with, or around. You can write the name or initials, another piece of paper. You can do it on the back side of your paper. If you got your Oxford notebook, that's easy because you'll just turn the page to another glorious page in your Oxford. So your statement, again, number 1 through 6, remember for the scoring key, significantly less than others, about typical, more than others, 5, significantly more than others. Your key, 1 through 5. And so as you're thinking about this person, how long ago did you work for this person? When I think about my best person I've ever worked for, I'm probably trying to model a lot of my leadership style after them. And when I'm thinking of the worst person I've ever worked for, with, or around, I'm probably trying to avoid a lot of these actions because I learned a lot, but I learned a lot what not to do in a lot of these cases. So let's talk about the emotional intelligence of the worst person you've ever worked for, with, or around. And as you look at that, I'm reminded Here's your the same 6 questions. Number 1, how does this person demonstrate awareness of their mood and emotions? How are they at demonstrating awareness of their mood and emotions? 1, significantly less than others. 2, less than others. 3, about typical. 4, more than others. 5, significantly more than others. 2, makes others feel appreciated. How is this person doing at making others feel appreciated? 1, significantly less than others. 3, about typical. 5, significantly more than others. 3, is open and honest about mistakes. Is open and honest about mistakes. 4, makes ethical decisions. Makes ethical decisions. 5, manages their emotions effectively in difficult situations. 6, recognizes others' hard work and achievements. Recognizes others' hard work and achievements. So if you were challenged with that, add up your score and see what you get. Typically, the numbers are not fabulous, right? And an average of 10 or lower is not uncommon. An average of 10 or lower is not uncommon. When you think about how long ago this could have been last year, and this could have been 30 years ago. But I want you to call up now how or he or she made you feel, or how do they make you feel now working for them? How are you made to feel? Jot down a few words of how you feel working for them. Do you feel great or do you feel bad? Do you feel shame or some of the challenges? How are you made to feel around this person? Jot that down and then rate your discretionary effort. Rate your discretionary effort. Was it hard? 9, 10 working for them? A lot of extra work, a lot of inefficiency. So you've got to come in back and do this. You got to work over the weekend. Or easy, 1, 2. Was just very easy working for them. Let's take a look at some of those words as we go back into the PowerPoint. Let me share my screen here again. When we talk about these words, how are you made to feel working for this? Stressed, angry, mad, demoralized, incompetent, unmotivated, insecure, disgusted, exhausted, burdened, invisible, uneasy, untrusted, afraid, replaceable, fat, disengaged, uninspired, insignificant, frustrated, and unappreciated. That's a low level of emotional intelligence showing up of how people are left feeling when we don't understand that. So my challenge to you today is, how are you making your team feel that you're leading? How do I score in EQ? Do I make my team feel appreciated, important, trusted, capable, respected, empowered, confident, important, empowered, valued? Or do I make them feel stressed, unappreciated, angry, frustrated, demoralized, insignificant, incompetent, uninspired, unmotivated, insecure, replaceable, afraid, and untrusted? So those questions continue to rear its head, and I will put that in the chat. As you go through your level of the organization, percentage of time you spent asking questions, listening, reading, utilizing your emotional intelligence, that is going to continue to come up as you grow inside the organization. And here's what we're going to need. If you're challenged in this, if you're challenged in emotional intelligence and relationship management, your ability to build relationships in and outside your team, skills you need to develop, identify what you might need to work on, analyze that, manage your emotions, and then develop and coach people. To communicate, your ability to communicate in all interactions, being open, leading with clarity, persuade other folks of what we need to move, motivate, and then inform people. Love that slide there. Courageous leadership. Real quick, I'm going to put inside the chat here on our page. I will put the 6 questions so you can test yourself. I will put that in our chat so you can see that. And I asked that, hey, as you look at that, courageous leadership, increase in your self-awareness, be engaged in all things, prepare for what lies ahead, seize your leadership moments. And a lot of them are going to be around emotional moments. That's when you need to seize the control and be able to lead others. Be responsive and communicate well, both incoming and outgoing. Incoming to you, the communication, and how your outgoing communication sounds. Set daily impact items based on urgent requests, client schedules, and financial dashboards. Those are going to be critical things to keep in mind. I love this quote, live the dream, right? Live the life you've imagined by Henry David Thoreau. For most people who've heard that quote before, live the life you've imagined, we do imagine what we want in this lifetime. This is when we won the 02 World Series, and we think about that celebration and what we're going for. But before Henry David Thoreau said that, he said, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. So as you lay out your goals, as you lay out, hey, how I'm going to have this better, and I'm going to improve my emotional intelligence, build some goals around how you're going to do that. How many hours you'll spend a week working at this, reading something, studying, working on your strengths, building some action items. And then lastly, he said, as you simplify your life, the law of the universe will be simpler. When you get focus, things get more simple. That's what they do, because there's less distractions. There's less things that are stopping you from getting into your way, for sure. A reminder again, June 7th, we'll be back on with Win with Great Team show. Hope you can join us for that. That'll be a great show where we interview a leader from Spain. I'm super excited about that. And then workshop slots are available where we do workshops inside organizations on how they can win with great teams. So if you are looking to develop your organization and your team, you would definitely want to talk to us about getting inside your organization. And here's some of the places you can find that, more information on that. And if you are an individual and want to know more about your team and learn more about us, we welcome and invite you to a VIP event where we're having in every city. You can come individually and meet some of the team members, meet some of the sponsors, and network with some fellow business owners, leaders, and leaders in the community, and learn about leadership and winning with great teams. So we'd love and welcome you to join us in those 3 towns. If you'd like to contact me, my email, my information on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find me on LinkedIn very easily at Trent M. Clark, and on the Leadershipity LinkedIn page as well as the page Win with Great Teams, to learn more about the workshop, and Team Raven, who are working on that from our front side in Spain, the student entrepreneurs. And if you'd like to get involved, we'd love to have you get involved with us. We thank our sponsors today for joining us. Again, I will, like I said, I will put in our Leadershipity page the 6 questions, those 6 questions that you can get.
Hey, Trent.
Yes, go ahead, one.
I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, when my emotions like are controlling me.
Yes.
How do I start to control them? What's my first step?
Yes. So the first challenge in it is just being aware that your emotions are happening, Juan. I mean, that's number 1. 2 is, hey, what are you going to do next, right? So I love the E plus R equals O, right? So there is an event and something happens, and now you're upset, right? Like this event upsets you. You got bad news at work. Someone missed a deadline and you're managing someone, and someone on your team dropped the ball and it's not going great, right? So then what's next is that's the event. So the R is your response. How do you respond to it? Are you going to emotionally rise up and your next response is going to be anger and frustration and a loud voice? Or are you going to be able to take a step back and slow it down, think about it? And sometimes that involves not dealing with it in the moment, right? Like, hey, I've got to get myself away from the situation and think about how I'm going to tackle it. I like that rule. We have a rule amongst teams. If someone's unhappy with a decision someone in the organization made, there's a 24-hour rule before you can come back and question it. So when we look at that, what's that 24-hour rule do? It gives us a chance to calm our emotions. It gives us a chance to think logically through our questions. It gives us a chance to have a professional debate and discussion about how we would move forward together. And so I like that rule. And what I'm going to do next in that response is very important, because if you're on my team, Juan, and you've done something to upset me, and I start with the, oh, all the hand gestures and the eye rolling and all that, I'm not demonstrating a very good awareness of my mood and emotions. I'm not staying in a professional environment, as opposed to helping you feel appreciated. Like, hey, I'm glad you're on my team. I really appreciate your opinion, even though I may not agree with it. So there's a lot of challenges as we do in managers, how we're going to have that. Knowing that this has set me off may be so important to take a step back. So I always encourage, like, the E plus R equals O is event happens, and then you respond, and then there's an outcome. If the event happens and you fly off the handle with your response, and you don't manage your response very well and get angry and frustrated and yell and stomp your feet, the outcome is not very good. Is that fair?
Yes.
So if there's an event and the same event happens, but your response is to understand that you're feeling emotional about this, asking for some time to think about it, take a step back, gather your emotions, have a drive, a professional, productive conflict and discussion the next day, and get a better outcome. That's so much going to serve you better as a leader than trying to manage something in that moment when you're not in the right mindset for it.
Okay, thank you so much. And I have like a small other question. Like, if one of my emotion is like a sad mood, my body language can hide this emotion to others. I mean, imagine that I have to do a pitching of a startup or whatever.
Yes.
And these days I have a bad event or whatever, and I'm not good. I'm not okay. So if I care my body language, it will hide my emotion, and people will not know that I am sad.
Yes, I think that's a critical component, right? Is how can I do that well? Like, there's a lot of acting, right? Like it doesn't always come in so well that it always doesn't come in so well when you're doing it. Like, there's a lot of people that are hiding behind the facade of a stoic response, and sometimes that's needed, right? For some people, they're wearing their emotions. We say wear your emotions on your sleeve, because everyone can see if they're happy, if they're unhappy. They see it right away, and we have to watch that, right? Because when we have that, it makes it challenging to know, hey, where do I stand in this? What's important? Are they passionate about this? All these things are happening, right? So when we talk about that body language, we use our body language to cover our emotions sometimes, but we have to be aware that, can we always do that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we can do that all the time. Okay. So it's a useful tool to have that body language. And I really think that's acting. If you've ever been on a stage, or, hey, I'm going to look like it. I think we hear these terms like fake it till you make it, right? Like, and so that's kind of that example of like, well, I'm going to show and do what I think I should be doing, but emotionally I could be really tied up inside, right? In an ideal world, you're combining those two together. You're combining your body language and your emotions in a good, positive position. That's not always easy, right?
Okay, like, thank you so much.
You bet. And so in the chat, thank you, Nissa, for clarifying those 6 questions for you to do your own study of how I score 1 through 5, right? Am I doing this significantly less than others? 1, 2, less than others. 3, about typical. 4, significantly more than others, and 5, significantly more than others. Yeah, that's where you're going to want to understand, how am I showing up as a leader? How is my emotional intelligence? To wrap this for today, is there any other questions, Juan?
No.
Okay, great.
It was all.
Very good. So to wrap for today, thank you for joining us, Team Raven. Always happy to be working with you and the young student entrepreneurs of Team Labs and Mondragon University. So exciting. Again, we welcome your support. You'd like to come alongside and join us. We're going to have some great workshops. We're going to meet some great organizations. I hope it can be your organization when I am in Spain coming in October into where are we at first? We're in Madrid, Bilbao, and then Barcelona. So we hope that you can join us and be a part of winning with great teams and boosting your organization into sustainability and driving your talent. And it should be a fun, interactive half-day program. And we'd love to come and work with your company. So please reach out to us. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for Juan and the team. Excited about being part of the program and visiting Spain and meeting you. Everyone have a fabulous week and happy Memorial Day. Best of all.
Thank you, Trent. Thank you so much.